Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving into a pretty fascinating investment opportunity today. It's all the way down in Brazil. We're talking LCDs.
Letras de Crédito de Desenvolvimento.
Yeah, or, development credit letters if you're speaking English.
Exactly, and they've been generating a lot of buzz.
Really? Why is that?
Well, imagine this. You're earning interest on an investment, right?
Right.
But you're paying absolutely zero income tax on those earnings.
Whoa, wait. Really?
Yeah.
No income tax.
Okay.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah, that's the potential benefit of LCDs, at least for individual investors.
That's pretty incredible. But, okay, I have to ask.
Go ahead.
Lending money to a development bank in an emerging market like Brazil, I mean, isn't that riskier than, I don't know, just buying a U.S. Treasury bond? What makes these LCDs a safe bet?
That's a really good question. And, you're right to be thinking about risk. It's always a factor. But here's the thing about LCDs. They're fixed income securities. They're issued by Brazilian development banks.
Okay.
Like, for example, BNDES.
BNDES.
Yeah, the Brazilian Development Bank. It's kind of a big deal down there.
Got it.
They use the money from these LCDs to finance long-term projects. But not just any projects. We're talking infrastructure, industry, renewable energy, strategic stuff.
Okay, so it's not like I'm investing in some random startup hoping it takes off.
Yeah.
It's more like I'm lending money to a bank that's in turn funding projects that are supposed to, boost Brazil's whole economy.
Right, exactly. You're getting it.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal here.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on the how. How do these things actually work? Is it like buying a bond?
You're on the right track. They are very similar to bonds. You buy an LCD, essentially you're giving the development bank a loan.
Right.
They take that money, fund their projects. You, as the investor, you get regular interest payments. And, of course, you get your principal back when the LCD matures.
Okay, so it's like giving a loan. But
Yeah.
instead of lending to a person, I'm lending to a bank that's, I don't know, building a new high-speed rail line or a massive solar energy farm, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. And to sweeten the deal even more, especially for international investors like yourself, the Brazilian government has made LCDs tax exempt.
Really? Tax exempt for individual investors, at least.
Wow.
Corporations still pay a 15% flat rate, though.
Okay, still, that's lower than what they usually pay on other investments, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. That's a pretty good incentive. I can definitely see why international investors would be interested in this. Okay, but what about protecting your investment? Is there any guarantee I'm going to get my money back if I invest in an LCD?
Another great question. And the answer is yes. LCDs are covered by the FGC. That's the Guarantee Fund for Credits in Brazil. They cover up to $250,000.
Oh, okay. So that's a pretty significant safety net. So we've got tax benefits, we've got the backing of a solid institution like the BNDES, and then we've got this safety net with the FGC. It's all sounding pretty promising, but of course there's got to be some downsides too, right? No investment is perfect. So what are the potential downsides to LCDs? You're absolutely right. No investment is risk-free. And with LCDs, there are a few things investors need to keep in mind. First off, they are subject to market conditions. Particularly if you need to redeem your investment early. There's a minimum maturity period of 12 months.
So I can't just cash out whenever I feel like it.
Right, exactly. And another thing, while those tax benefits are great for investors, they do have an impact on government revenue in the long run.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Less tax revenue for the government could mean less funding for social programs and other important stuff. I guess it's a trade-off to think about.
Yeah, it's a complex issue for sure. And it just highlights why, thorough research is so crucial before making any investment decisions.
Absolutely. Always do your research. Speaking of which, our research mentioned some other investment options in Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
Things like LCIs and LCAs. I'm not really familiar with those. What are those, and how do they compare to these LCDs we've been talking about?
So LCIs and LCAs, they're also fixed income securities here in Brazil.
Okay.
They've actually been around for a while, and they've been pretty popular because just like LCDs, they offer some pretty attractive tax benefits.
Oh, okay. So are LCDs just trying to, ride that wave of popularity? What makes them different or unique, I guess?
That's a good question. I think the main thing that sets LCDs apart is their scope. They're much broader. You see, LCIs, those are specifically focused on real estate projects, and LCAs, those are all about agribusiness ventures.
Oh,
But LCDs, they're not limited to just those two sectors. They can fund a much wider array of projects.
got it.
And that makes them really appealing to a certain type of investor.
Impact investor.
Yeah, the folks who really want to see their money making a tangible difference in various sectors of the economy, not just real estate or agriculture.
Oh, okay. I see. So it's like, I don't know, like choosing between investing in a single tree or an entire forest.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Both have their merits.
Yeah.
But the forest, in this case the LCDs, that has the potential for a much bigger impact, right?
You got it. And that actually brings us to I think, a crucial point.
Yeah.
When you're considering these types of investments, you really have to align your goals
Oh, yeah.
with the type of impact you want to support.
That makes sense.
Like, are you passionate about sustainable agriculture? Maybe LCAs would be a good fit for you. But if you want to support, say, Brazil's transition to renewable energy or, foster innovation in the tech sector,
Right.
that's where LTDs really shine.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about the financial return. It's about, what kind of impact your investment is having. It's kind of like choosing a charity to donate to. You want to make sure your money's going to a cause you really believe in.
Exactly. And just like with charitable donations, research is key.
Right. Research, research, research.
You want to look into the institutions that are issuing these LCDs. Understand the projects they're funding. Compare the terms and conditions offered by, different investment platforms.
Yeah. Transparency is key, right?
Absolutely.
Investors need to be able to see where their money's going
Yeah,
and how it's being used.
for sure.
I know our research mentioned that development banks, like, the BNDES, the ones that issue these LCDs,
Right.
they're actually required by the CMM, the National Monetary Council of Brazil, to publish detailed annual reports
Oh, yeah.
on all the projects they're supporting.
Transparency is especially important for impact investors, I think. They really want to be able to track the progress of these projects, measure their impact, make sure their investment is actually making a difference. It's about accountability, making sure your investment aligns with your values.
So like putting your money where your mouth is, in a way.
Exactly.
Speaking of making a difference,
Yeah.
one thing that really stood out to me in our research was the potential for these LCDs to really, reshape Brazil's development, on a big scale.
Yeah.
I saw a few experts who think that LCDs could bring a lot of much-needed investment into areas that haven't traditionally attracted private funding.
Oh, yeah. I think that's one of the most exciting aspects of LCDs. They really could be a game changer. Providing these tax incentives, offering a, relatively safe investment vehicle, it could really mobilize resources from both, domestic and international investors and direct them toward these projects with a multiplier effect on the economy.
It's like injecting fuel into an engine that's been, sputtering.
Exactly. Think about the ripple effects, like improved infrastructure leads to better transportation networks, right? That means lower logistics costs, increased trade, supporting small businesses. That empowers local communities, drives economic growth from the ground up. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, that's like a win-win. For investors and for Brazil as a whole, that's a pretty compelling story for anyone interested in impact investing.
It is, definitely. But it's super important to remember we're still in the early stages of this whole LCD thing.
Right.
It's a relatively new instrument.
You on the scene.
And, its long-term impact, how it's really going to affect Brazil's development, that remains to be seen.
Right. It's not a guaranteed success story. So for investors who are out there listening, thinking, okay, this is interesting, I want to learn more, what should they keep in mind as they, explore this opportunity further?
So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Learned about LCDs, how they work, potential benefits, the risks involved, the possible impact they could have on, Brazil's development as a whole. But I'm sure there are some listeners out there who are thinking, all right, this is interesting. I want to learn more. Where do I even start?
Yeah. Where do you go from here?
Exactly. What would you suggest? What's the first step for someone who's serious about, exploring this LCD thing?
Well, if you're really serious about digging deeper into LCDs, I'd say a great place to start is the BNDES website.
Makes sense. Go right to the source.
Yeah, they've got tons of information on current LCD offerings, the specific projects they're funding, their whole approach to development financing. It's all right there. Perfect. But let's say, okay, someone's done their research and they're ready to, take the plunge.
Yeah.
They actually want to invest in some LCDs. Is it as easy as, like, buying stocks through your regular brokerage account?
Not quite. You'll need to find investment platforms that specifically offer LCDs.
Okay.
And a number of Brazilian financial institutions are starting to incorporate them into their portfolios, which is great.
That's good.
But you want to do your homework, right? Compare terms, fees, minimum investment amounts.
Shop around a little bit.
Exactly. Due diligence is key.
Always. Now, for those listeners who really want to go deep, beyond just the nuts and bolts, they want to understand the bigger picture, how these LCDs might impact Brazil's economy in the long run. Where should they look for that kind of, like, in-depth analysis?
There's a lot of research coming out on this topic. Financial journals, think tanks, even universities, they're all publishing articles and reports, analyzing the potential economic impact, the social impact, the environmental impact. A quick online search should turn up a bunch of resources.
Awesome. So we've got the BNDES website for official information. We've got investment platforms for those who are ready to, take the leap and actually invest. And then we've got all these research articles and reports for those who want to dive deep into the analysis side of things.
Yeah, that's a pretty good toolkit, I'd say.
It is, for anyone who's interested in exploring this whole LCD opportunity. And the thing is, it's just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to see how these LCDs evolve, how they actually impact Brazil's development over the next few years. I mean, the story's still being written, right?
Absolutely. And maybe, just maybe, some of our listeners will become part of that story.
That's right. They could be the ones funding the next big, innovation in renewable energy, or the infrastructure project that completely transforms a community. I mean, who knows?
That's the power of impact investing, right? It's about aligning your financial goals with the changes you want to see in the world. But like we've been saying, you got to do your research. Any investment comes with risks, and LCDs are no different.
Right. Don't just jump in blindly.
Thoroughly understand the terms. Make sure it fits with your overall investment strategy.
Excellent advice to wrap up this deep dive. And that's it for today. We've explored LCDs. We've given you the information, the tools, the questions to consider. Now it's up to you to decide if this is the right investment for you. Happy exploring. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.